Well, hello, friends. What if I tell you that we don't have to go beyond ourselves? We don't have to look out, and we can find the whole world inside us. We are talking about the Advaita, and this principle it was propounded by Adi Shankaracharya, right? If you remember that he had the vision of the Devi when he recited the Sundara Lahari. You must be knowing this, right?
Mm,
So in which he is, as you know, he recited this Sundara Lahari, and he had the vision of the goddess. And many people say he himself believes in this philosophy of Advaita. I mean, we are one with the Brahma, right? I mean, Brahman. The whole universe is inside us. We are carrying the whole universe inside us. If you are to put your hand under the microscope, and you would see that the cells are floating around just like the galaxies in the whole universe. So we've got the arteries, we've got the veins, we have got the whole universe inside us. If we turn ourselves inward, and we'll find that the Lord, the Almighty, the God is residing in us, and we don't have to look beyond, beyond ourselves. We don't have to look out to see if the God is there, because the God is there. This is the philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya, right?
mm.
So, well, very good evening, and this is something which we are going to talk about today, and this is going to be very deep and philosophical. People who are very much into philosophy, they'll be enjoying the conversation, because the conversation is all about Advaita. We would be talking about Dvaita in a next video. This time we are going to talk about it. What is it, and how people can experience the God within themselves. And we are talking about this philosophy. So, Robin, I want you to start the conversation. Just tell let the people, the audience know what Advaita is, and how can people turn themselves inward, and how can they find the Lord, the God, and whatever you can call it within yourself.
Okay, good evening, first of all, and good evening to everyone. Finally, we are talking about Vedas, the
Yeah.
Vedas, and this is just one that identity that gives recognition to the entire Bharatvarsh, that is India, right? So, India is popularly known for Vedas, because when we talk about Vedas, Vedas are not just limited to um, spiritual heights. It also deals with many scientific, ideas which were very prevalent at that point of time, right? And there were many things well propounded in the entire Vedas, the very ancient one, that is Rig Veda, where you got to know many things about the spiritual lifestyle and many other things, right? Now, as we moved, from then era to the medieval era or even before that, then many philosophers came into, and they all were like, you know, serving their own ideas in the name of philosophies as to what they have understood about the universe and why they thought that what they have, you know, counted on things should be imparted with the entire universe. So in the line, there are many philosophies and many philosophers came into existence. They were driving their own ideas. Many of them were appreciated for their works. Many of them, almost changed the way, the people, looked at this entire universe.
Yes.
People started worshipping them in some sort of, worshipping figures. They apotheosized them like one does with a godly figure, right? So one of those, philosophers, there is one name that comes to, uh, discussion very often, as it, provides a very, uh, a vast, understanding about the entire universe. And this philosopher is known for, setting up a new boundaries within the India. to make it united, to keep it united forever, right? So yes, I'm talking about this philosopher called Adi Shankaracharya. And what to say about him? He's very uh, enlightened personality, as usually happens. Mostly, who come out with the philosophies are one who are highly elevated sages and priests. So he was one of those. His ideas, his understanding, his perception about anything were very different from those of common people like us. So he was the one who brought this philosophy, and that is Advaita, right?
Advait, yes.
Advaita is somewhat like very similar to uh, you know many verses written on suktas written in Rig Vedas, because it is what serves the Indian identity, the Bharatvarsh identity, right? So Advaita is often understood as something which is unified, right?
Yes.
So as you talked about the Vedas, sorry, the Advaita
Yeah.
deals with merging of Atman with Brahman.
Brahma, yeah.
However, there is always a discussion. If you go to Western philosophy, they deal with two things, that is phenomena and noumenon, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, we are dealing with Atman and Brahman. So this Brahman means this is some entirely godly figure who's situated at a very in a larger plane of this universe, or according to him, Adi Shankaracharya, how he defines Brahman, he defines it as something which is formless,
Yeah, formless.
something something which has no trait, traitless. There is no certain characteristics, there is no certain shape, color, size. So it is absolutely formless personality which cannot be perceived, right? And that is what you know uh, uh, defines what Brahman is, right? And Atman is much similar to the concept of uh, that particular deeply seated soul, okay, which is a part of the Brahman, but which is seated in all human beings, right?
Yes.
I mean, there is a particular shlokas in Bhagavad Gita that goes on to explanation about the the nature of the soul, right? Which is soul, consciousness are almost similar things. I mean, all these things are defined almost same, right? Some people call it soul, some people call it consciousness, some people call it different, so they have given it different name, right? So in fact, if you read that Bhagavad Gita, you will come to know that it is defined as the one 1,000 part of the tip of the hair.
Yeah.
That's how the soul is defined. That's how the soul, that particular, is defined, right? So it cannot be cut with sword. It cannot be dampened with moist or water. It cannot be burnt in fire. So that nature has been given to the soul, right? So this, according to him, both soul and the Brahman and Atman are going to be merged. And when people you know uh, lead their Atman, the soul, to merge with the Brahman, that is the point which is called an enlightened point, right? So if someone asks what is enlightenment and how it could be defined in a more simple terms, so it could be defined that when you merge your soul, Atman, with the Brahman, the time when you do that, the time when you perceive that, is actually your enlightenment point, right? Means you have been enlightened.
Yeah.
So that's how this Advaita is defined, right? So that's just for the beginning of the discussions, right? We will move further into the discussion. We'll try to find out a more new uh, you can say facts about Advaita's philosophies, as well as we will try to find out how it could be, how it could be applied in practical world, because no philosophy could be held as the best philosophy if you cannot, use it in the current scenario and can utilize it, you know to the maximum point. Yes. Would you?
Yeah, so we are starting from the very core, and the core philosophy, core, you can say, principle of this philosophy is Advaita, that is in English called non-duality. So that simply means that we are not different from the Brahman. Means the Atman and Brahman are the same. They are one. They are unified. They are united, right? So for to experience that particular, particular, you can say, and the experience, if you want to have that experience, then you have to merge yourself in the Brahman, right? So let me say something to the audience. We are not going to bombard the audience with the heavy words. We'll be keeping it very simple so that people can understand, it very easily.
Right.
So I'm gonna start with the Adi Shankaracharya as I started in the beginning. So I was just reading about him, and you must be knowing that the work which was created by Adi Shankara himself, that's Saundara Lahari, right? It's a kind of, it's a commentary which he recited while he was you can say invoking or the goddess. What happened actually, he was suffering, and then because he had some enemies who were not actually who were not willing him to stay alive. So that's why he wanted to cure himself just by invoking the goddess, and that time he created this Saundara Lahari. It's a commentary. The people who believe in duality, people who believe that Atman and Brahman are different, they always say that Adi Shankaracharya did not, as you know, Adi Shankaracharya says that there is no duality, because he believes in Advaita, he believes in non-duality. So he says that the Brahman resides in ourselves, but the people who believe in Dvaita, they thought that it is not possible, because if you are talking to God, if you are having the vision of God, then how can you be one? Because there is somebody else. I mean, there is the identity
Principal
of
and
God.
principal and servant kind
Yeah.
of.
So there is the existence of God, because how can you have the conversation then? But what he says, that while he was so merged, he was so immersed in himself, he was so means he turned himself inwards so deeply that he and the God became one, and the goddess, then he was thinking as if the goddess was she was outside his body, and he was having a kind of having conversation with her. So this is his principle, and this is I've also learned a lot about it, and I found that we are not actually separate from God. That's why it is said that if you are devoted, if you believe firmly, then you don't need to go anywhere, because the whole universe resides in you. And when you sit in meditation, when you start in awakening start awakening those kundalini, you must have heard this, then you would realize that everything is inside us. You'll have different kinds of experiences. So he talks about this non-duality, right? So Robin, we will be now, I'm steering this conversation to the other principle of Advaita, that is unity of Atman and Brahman. So we are going to discuss this particular principle.
Okay.
So I want you to start this, then we'll be having the conversation.
Okay. I mean, this is something a very complex part of Advaita,
Yeah.
because non-spiritual mind would have a hard time to understand this merging with Atman and Brahman. To be very
They
honest,
would
frankly, I'm
simply be
saying
disbelieving it.
yes, because first of all, they may be atheists. They may not have that much kind of a strong belief in certain kind of divine existence, right? So for these people, it may sound some stories which is just like a fairy tale and has got no physical realities or whatsoever you can say a spiritual realities, right? Therefore, we it is rightly said, in one line in Bhagavad Gita that says that uh, philosophy without science means philosophy without science is mere mental speculation,
Yeah.
right? And science, sorry, philosophy without devotion, sorry, philosophy without devotion is mental speculation, and devotion without philosophy is mere sentiment. So that's how, beautifully they merge, two things together. One, science and its affiliation with, bhakti, meditation, devotion, or
Yeah.
believing in certain kind of god, right? So this is a precondition for all those who really want to understand that and want to have a basic understanding about the Advaita and how it actually, works, and what is the purpose of Advaita for people. Because the way, it looks like, in fact, many people don't come and read about it, right? Until you go into the depth of it, you never know the possibilities, the possibilities of Advaita. Because this Advaita, encompasses every aspect of human life. It is a kind of holistic, you know uh, you can say, uh, development of both your mind as mental and your physical, right? It actually gives you a kind of sensation or a feeling that you are going beyond your usual understandings, because often you and me or anyone right now, because we are not that much spiritually inclined and oriented people, so we always identify ourselves with body, with
Yes.
soul, right? So when we identify ourselves with body, we are actually not going beyond this bodily perception.
Yes.
And until you go beyond this bodily perceptions, your life is going to be in a very vicious cycle of suffering and pain, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Advaita starts on a very point which is much associated with the Hindus, one, you can say, a target, a mission, or you can say a particular kind of, lifestyle, and that is, Purushartha.
Yeah.
Purusharth leads us to moksha, that is
Yeah.
called salvation. The Purusharth includes, earth, kam, love, and yes, dharma, right? Earth, kam, dharma, right? So this four particular components combinedly form this purusharth: dharma, kam, arth, or moksha,
Okay.
right? So that is how this Veda is, especially the Advaita, you know, is not just defined about, but it also deals on this particular kind of principle. Now, how we can understand this is very important, and I'll start, with a very classic and a very simplified example to facilitate, this spiritual understanding to the non-spiritual mindset, because it's important. Our purpose is to uh, make everything simple as much as we could, so
Yeah.
that the audience could understand about it. I mean, there is one very usual example is often narrated in this to understand the difference between non-dualities and dualities. Because if we are in the line to understand what Advaita is all about, so we need to compare Advaita with, you know, uh, uh,
Advaita.
dualities, Advaitas, so that our understanding could be very firmed on this. Now, Advaita says, interestingly, that when throw your eyes to sun, you see sun as one single entity,
Yes.
because it doesn't make a distinction between the sun and its rays that is coming to you. That what Advaita says. Other example, Advaita says, for example, someone is wearing a gold ring, right? Now that particular gold could be also transmuted into ring, into necklace, but the real nature of that particular is gold, right? Whatever you form, something out of its real nature, the true nature, it remains to be the very same, right? In the same way, when you form any kind of pot, clay pot, out of clay, right? So it is for you like a pot, a kind of utensils that you can use in your kitchen. But when you destroy it, you smash it, it will again turn out to be its real nature, that is soil clay. So according to Vedas, according to Advaitas, it says that whosoever we are, whatsoever we are the part of this large entity, and this large entity is called Brahman, right? We are not seen as different entity. It is our, you know, it is our, misunderstanding. It is our, misperception, because we are very much kind of, trapped in this, delusion world that is called Maya, right? So we are not
And the
able to
whole
see
world
the
is the
reality.
illusion.
Yes, we are not able to see the reality. We are very helpless to penetrate this very Maya kind of trap that has entrapped us. We are not able to, once you penetrate this, and then you see the reality that you are not different from this real, Brahman, which is the prime source of us. So
Yes,
according to Advaitas, actually the sun's light, that is called rays, and the sun should not be seen as two different things.
because it is coming from it.
Obviously, in the same way, when you see a complete ocean, right? So there are waves which are rising, going
Yeah,
down, right? So these waves might be giving you an illusion that it is a different identity, but ultimately it's a part of that vast, sprawling ocean, right?
yeah,
That what Advaita says. Opposite to this, Dvaita comes out with the philosophy we discussed. According to him, the waves and the ocean are two different entities because both give you a different perceptions. Because waves are known for its identity and ocean has its own identity. Sun has its identity and the rays of the sun has its own identity, right? Those, pot made up of clay is one identity, and the clay, which is its natural form, has another identity. This body has one identity, and the Atman that resides in is another identity.
yeah,
Even Sankhya Yoga goes with this philosophy, right? So that our body and Atman are two different things. We identify ourselves as body. This is also a reality, but inside it, there is also an Atman, which is also a reality, right?
yeah.
So there are two different components, there are two different concepts, right? So that's how these two things, are defined in Advaitas, and the opposite of it is defined in, Dvaitas. And that's all the, a sum total of Advaitas, right? Over to you.
And to have the vision of that Atman, we have to transcend this average kind of living, no, living style. And if we can penetrate, if we can transcend this average, you can say, because we are not living at that level, we are, living the surface level. And if we can, you can say, lift ourselves or transcend this limit, I think we can become one with the Atman, and then
Right.
we have no this we won't have this sense of duality, because
Mm.
this duality is there until or unless we become one with it. And
Right.
once we just reach that level, this becomes there is no other reality except it, that we and the Atman are just one.
Right.
And this, why do we fail to realize Atman?
Mm.
Why do we fail to realize Brahman? Is just
Mm.
because we are living in ignorance, and that is
Yes.
called avidya, right?
Mm.
And
Avitya.
this always cause this kind of illusion. The whole world is illusion. We've got so many in our life, we have so many people, we've got so many things, and we've got different names. This is not none other than Maya. This is none other than illusion. Because why do we then say that we have to reach the ultimate reality of this life? Is the truth of this life is one, and that is we'll become one with these five elements. The whole
Right.
body then merges in five elements, and that's a reality. Why? Because we all have this reality. We are not, we are same,
Mm.
there is no you can say, we've got different names, we got different faces, we got different color,
Right.
but the reality is one. why do people fail to believe it? Because they haven't they have never ever tried to know it, right?
Right.
When we sit together when we sit together with somebody, or when we sit, you can say, in a corner silently, we sit alone, and then we start doing some kind of reflection. We just start reflecting on
Right.
everything, and then we start, meditating, and then we go deeper and deeper, penetrating all those layers of ignorance. And then there comes a point when we would realize that we are complete, because we are because the whole the whole Brahman, you can say, the universe, the Atman is there, and you don't need anything else. And that's
Right.
why he talks about this Maya and avidya, as
Mm.
you know, that this Maya is illusion and this avidya is ignorance. Let's talk about how can this philosophy, how can this experience of
Mm.
being one with the Atman can lead us to liberation? Because it's a path which can liberate you. It's a path which can make you feel that you are now
Mm.
free, you are liberated. So let's talk about it. This is a path to liberation, but how can this lead us to liberation?
Okay, before we start about the very question that you threw to me, um, we need to have a clear understanding on liberation,
Yeah,
because there are two possible outcomes as meaning of this liberation. If you ask someone who is of a spiritual, you know, mindset, then he might explain something which might not be understood, with might not be grasped, you know, with that sincerity. Okay. And there is also a form of liberation which is well suited to this practical, living and lifestyle.
yeah,
Both are right, at its own place. But since we are dealing with that section of people whose minds are governed by scientific, you know, um, imperialism or scientific, formulas, scientific data, right? So therefore, we need to understand liberation in the context of science,
okay.
right? We all know when you talk about, liberation, and especially dealing it with, uh, spiritual aspect, then it simply means that we are going to be free from this very cycle of death and birth. This is literally called liberation. Now, when then someone may ask, what is the need of experiencing this liberation? Why we are not comfortable with this life?
Yeah.
Why we don't want to come here again, right? Then other questions may come
Yeah,
in the same line.
there may be one question in people's mind. Then if we have to finally we have to leave this world, then
Hmm.
why do we come to this world then?
Right.
The ultimate reality is to leave this world, then why do we come?
Right. Yes, that could be also the question, right? Because we rarely know about it. This is a very vast core philosophy.
Yeah,
So it should be dealt with a degree of seriousness, right?
yeah,
So when we say we want to get rid of this cycle of death and birth, we are actually insinuating one thing, and that the life is full of suffering.
yeah,
And
undoubtedly.
that goes so consistently with the idea of Gautam Buddha. See, why do we say Buddha's philosophies is a part of Hindus, right? It comes in the part of the Hindus. It is a branch of the Hindus, right?
Because
So
he was a Hindu actually, basically.
obviously, so many Jainism, Buddhism, all these are the parts of Hindus. These are the sub
Yeah.
branches of one particular tree, right? That is Sanatana.
Guru Nanak Dev was also
Yes,
from Hindu.
yes, yes, yes. So when we say that we are going to liberate ourselves from this, we mean to say that we don't want to live here again, and we don't want to come here just because we find the world is full of sufferings, right? And it is something intolerable. It is unbearable. So therefore, we must try hard to get this liberation so that we should never come here again, right? Therefore, many people say we have to anyhow get liberation, the moksha is equal to liberation, salvation, that we could say, right?
Yeah.
So that is what is, moksha and liberation is all about. So this is a spiritual understanding about it. It revolves around this. People who are with devoted mindsets and often, surrender everything to the lotus feet of the god, they often understand liberation in that way. Many people don't read books. That's also right, right? Many people who are very, very strong or a staunch, devotee to the gods, right? And they are surrendering everything to the feet of the god. So if they are working, and out of that working, if they are getting any return as a profit, as a business, they are surrendering everything to the lotus feet of the god, right? They are not claiming themselves as a doer. They are not claiming as
Yeah.
themselves as the one to enjoy the fruit of their actions, because they don't consider themselves as a doer.
Yeah.
So let alone the fruit that is coming out of the action should be belonging to them, right? So this is the approach of, devotees, usually. So they submit everything to the god, because everything is in the name of the god, right? So this is a spiritual understanding. But when we discuss and deal with the scientific understanding of liberation, it is much similar to this, but it is highly practical right now. How it is, we don't need to read books for that. We need to just throw our eyes in our surroundings, and try to be little bit, observant. And then we find that life is so difficult, so challenging, right? And when you feel so, we you feel like the pressure is building up, the stress is building up, life is getting so difficult to live, right? And then we realize we need to get rid of this, right? But in that sense, we are not telling that we want to die. But in that particular context, our mean to say is that how we can minimize the suffering, how we can minimize those stress, how we can minimize the piling up, tension, the piling up concerns on a routine basis. Life goes in a very dismal state, right? Sometimes. So when you try to liberate yourself, when you try to minimize your suffering, agony, torment, right? You are actually calling for liberation, right? You are not willing to die, but the pain that you are facing, the suffering that you have, you want to mitigate that. And there comes this, liberation understanding, liberation concept. And here comes this, Advaita, that is promises you to mitigate your suffering, right? Suffering can never be, eliminated. This is also
Yeah.
the fact.
This is correct.
But mitigation is also there for you. Secondly, mitigation through science can be experienced, but its life is very short. It cannot be permanent. But a spiritual remedy to your suffering is a permanent that mitigates your pain permanently. Now, many people may ask, yeah, it is really possible. Is it really possible to end our suffering? No, suffering can never be ended. Suffering can only be mitigated. It's your mind and your way of dealing with the suffering is actually the remedy of your suffering. So we might have seen many elevated minds who are so engrossed in their states of meditation and self-awareness that they really don't find around about their surroundings. They turn to be very oblivious, right? And they really don't find any pain, right? So this level of self awareness, this level of meditation, you know uh, makes people feel to be, to be relieving out of the suffering. So this liberation is basically discussed in the Advaita. This therefore, people who are very much inclined towards science, they don't give a second to reading, Advaitas. But Advaitas promises you, Advaita is what that deals, that leads you to deal with your inner environment, your
Yeah.
inner soul, in your inner identity. Science is there to help you to know the external environment.
Yes.
So you have both form of sciences. One is a spiritual science. Spiritual is also an abstract thing,
Yeah.
and mind is often, and the thoughts are often, coined as abstract. It has no concrete, shape and size and form, right? So
Yes.
therefore, this spirituality as a device is used to handle that, your undercurrents, your emotions, your sentiments, right? So both are these sciences in its own ways. Their application are also possible in their own ways, right? One thing is very promising in Advaita is that it promises you to give you 100% result, but it requires, a very strict, abstemious, and a disciplinary lifestyle. Over to you.
When do we feel all these kind of experiences? First of all, if you are going to do something, you'll have to leave your scientific mind behind first. Because
Right.
your scientific mind, your logical mind will always be questioning you about the efficacy of the things you're going to do. And when this science comes, this logic comes, actually you can never understand God using your logic. You can never understand God using science, or applying science in your life. When you apply science, you kind of question each and everything, because this is how science evolved. You question, and then you look for the solution, and this is how you get the things. But this is, attaining this, or having this experience, or being one with the God is.
There is a famous proverb. So when you enter the sanctorum part of a temple, you have to take off the sleeper of your logic.
Yeah.
So this is something, very concurrent and very attached, right, to
Yeah.
each other. So if you're really willing to be devoted, then your as I told you right in the beginning, philosophy without devotion is
Yeah.
mental speculation. So you can only do a mental speculation, this and that.
Because then what happens, you always questions, you never try to understand the things, you never
Yes.
try to experience the things.
Right.
And experience can only be experienced, you can only
Right.
have it, you cannot
Yes.
just get, there is no objective reality.
Right.
When
Right.
you
Right.
become one with God, suppose if I say that I've seen God, I cannot show this to the people, because this is
Ah,
only a subjective experience. It has no objective reality. And what people want, they just want to see it as an object. And this is not an object actually. Because if something that is not at all visible, it is inside you, how can it make it, how can make it visible? It is
right.
impossible. So one thing I'm willing to say is that first of all, you have to develop that level of devotion. The second thing is that you have to do it wholeheartedly, right? And I've seen many people who used to be quite rebellious, who used to be quite quarrelsome, who used to be very I would say adamant and stubborn. But when they started practicing these things, I have seen miraculous changes in their lives,
Mm,
miraculous
right.
changes. And they used to fight with their own inner demons. They used to have mental turmoil, but now they are cool, calm, and collected. And this is what are the sweet fruit of or this particular practice. And one more thing, this is, I would say, the beginning. If you can develop that higher consciousness, that is not easily possible for people.
Mm,
But if you can reach that level, then whatever that has been discussed by Adi Shankaracharya is going to happen to you as well. You will then be having the vision of that Brahman, which is actually, which is the reality of you, which is your reality actually. This is not the reality, because this body will one day perish. This
right.
body will one day perish.
Going to be vanished permanently,
Yeah.
right?
And this Brahman, that is that, because, it is God, so it is immortal, right? And when you reach that level, you'll find that you are no longer going to die. You are no longer going to die, right? Because, you are immortal. You are the part of that Almighty. And
Right.
once you experience this, then
Right.
liberation.
Right. Right.
then liberation happens. So liberation is possible. I know that, with I mean, a person who is with a scientific mind can never understand it, because I know a person who is actually who works with us. He always debates, and whatever logic you give to the person, he always denies. Then I tell him this thing, that if you are not willing to accept, then why do you discuss? This is the
Right.
problem.
But
Because
this, yeah, yeah.
if you keep raising questions, then it means you are not at all ready to accept the things. And if you don't accept, I cannot tell you anything,
Hmm.
right? If I cannot tell you anything, then don't question. Because if you question, then you should be ready to at least listen to the person. And if you don't listen, then you can never understand,
Right.
right?
But there is also a scope. In fact, our philosophies are not that weak. It has something for everyone. So when someone is with a very gross scientific mind, I mean, this idea of meeting with God is understood in this way. And the way is that to be transcending your fear. So what is the uh, major bugbear in our life? That fear is death, or maybe
Yeah.
something else. But
Yeah,
it
or
is
losing something,
losing something. It could be
missing out
anything,
on opportunities.
but it is a fear. It is a kind of fear,
Yeah,
right? So when a common person like us who is a composition of five elements transcendence this fear is actually the state where he calls himself enlightened.
yeah,
Ask yourself, I mean, this is to all those scientific minds, what is that hindrance in our life that literally bottlenecks us from going forward in life, from attaining that we could easily do, but just because of we are besieged with anxiety and depression, with certain
yeah,
fear, and for that reason we are not able to attain that. Then in this case, when you apply this philosophy, you apply this very understanding of meeting with some high godly figure, is when you transcendent your fear and you become completely liberate. Liberation can also be defined and coined in this way: when you go beyond your fear of
yeah,
death.
yes,
So when you go beyond your fear, it means you become completely fearless,
yes,
courageous. Now there is nothing before you that could daunt you. So you'll remain undaunted, right? And therefore, no situation in the world, no conditions in the world, howsoever challenging it could be or dismal, you are not going to bow down before it. You are not going to bend down yourself before it. And that is the state which is defined as liberation for the scientific minds. So this is working for both mindsets, both scientific mindsets and the spiritual mindsets. So who have understood this very enlightenment as a whole process to meeting with a certain God, they enjoy their journey by meeting up, by fixing their routine meetings with the gods. They go to temples and they do all process like traditional process. There is also a scientific mind who work on their fear, right? And after they go beyond that fear, they call them liberated, right?
yeah,
So Premanand is one of those Maharaj sitting
yes,
right in the Vrindavan. He is living with both of his kidney failed for last 18 years, and he has
yes,
been on dialysis for 18 years, in his words I'm saying, and he still glows like no one can glow. I mean, look, compare our faces with him.
yeah,
We are young at least, but he is now 60 or 70, and his both kidneys are failed. And imagine, and I mean, this is something, don't you think, miraculous?
yeah, it is.
Something which is not, common.
And this is possible. That's what we are talking about. That if when you transcend your limits, then you reach that level. But you have to learn to tame all these kind of negativity, the thoughts which come to your head. This is what I'm trying to say, that when people say that if we have to leave, if we want to liberate ourselves, if we want to achieve salvation, then why do we come to this world? Then there is one answer. Actually, this is my personal. but this may resonate with people, that we do come to this world because we cannot experience that particular experience that is very high, or I would say that is higher, that is transcendental experience in other forms. Suppose if we talk about animals, we don't have this chance to have this kind of an experience. We as a human can have this experience, but the condition is you have to transcend your limits, you have to transcend the boundaries, you have to transcend your average mindset, right? And then you have to start believing that yeah, there is the existence of God. And this can be in any form, this can be just experience, this can be
Hmm.
there's this I one of the videos I shared, that when you are very firm, when you are not going to you can say to when you have relentless when you
Hmm.
make relentless efforts, the whole universe takes the form for you. The whole
Right.
universe takes the form for you if a devotion is unwavering.
Uh,
Then the whole universe takes the form,
Hmm.
because this universe, as I means, this may be the universe, this is just that's just an illusion. The universe, that real universe, is inside you. And when you have that you can say that unwavering you can say
Hmm.
belief or devotion, then that comes out in the form of that God. And then you can have the vision of that God, right? So the next thing which we have to talk about is now we'll be talking about this Maya. What is the nature of Maya? We'll be talking about this, then we'll be going deeper into it. So before I start saying something about it, I want to tell me what is the nature of Maya, because people know it, but we want to tell them in a different way, so that they can have the other aspect of looking at it.
Okay, I'll try to make it scientific as much as I could do, because my whole purpose and our whole purpose is to deliver a scientific understanding of the Vedas or the Advaitas, because we really want principles to be applied as well as to be imbibed and cultivated in the routine conduct of the people, if we really want to have the bigger change in lifestyle. So, since we have become so scientifically driven minds, and therefore we need to connect everything to science. In fact, it's very common these days. Even a person known for his spiritual awakening, spiritual understanding, often comes with a conclusion that certain spiritual understanding is go or goes consistent with that particular science research. So that's how we try to connect science and science and spirituality, right? And that is good for the entire communities, right? Now when we talk about Maya, we need to understand this in a more even scientific term. When we say Maya, we are actually dealing with all those things to which we are attached. And right, and we need to start right from our body. So this body is an entire system. Okay, we call it body, but it's a system. It's more like a computer system. Like every system has its own functions to play or to work, right? So this body is also a system. So our we are attached to this body, as we have discussed earlier, that we identify ourselves as body and
Yeah.
is as body, right? We don't consider it as a soul. The time when we consider it as a soul, we actually transcend our limit. We transcend our limit means we go beyond the fear, we go beyond those mundane reasonings. Everything we observe, everything we see, it gives you a different outlook after we become enlightened, after we understand that we are actually soul, not a body. So something which is on this planet, and that is a subject to you know uh, extermination,
Yeah,
or something which is going to be perished
which will
forever,
come to an end.
which is because it is its nature.
Yeah,
We are going to be perished. The laptop that we are using, you are using, is going to be perished.
it has got its
Like
own lifespan.
every materialistic value, every materialistic value is counted as Maya. And why do we call it Maya? Because we are attached to it. We are attached to that extent that we can't, you know, you can say, bear the pain of, losing it. We can't bear the pain of losing someone who we love to the most, right?
Yeah.
We can't bear, uh, our hard earned money to be lost.
Yes.
So these are the things which are binding us to this entire materialistic values. And this Advaita comes here, or the Vedas comes here to tell you that what you call materialistic, which is what you call yours, is just a material, and it has its own life
Yeah, it's
as you.
perishable.
It's perishable at you, and therefore it's not a subject to lamentation.
Yeah.
That what it says. So that one thing, this one, core understanding we can develop, that we are prone to lament, we are prone to, wail over something which you are going to lose. So this Advaitas or the Vedas says that you are not going to cry for all these silly things, because these are not permanent, these are fleeting, right? And what you call yourself, what you consider you, it belongs to you as your property, and you claim your ownership to that, is actually all material. And that has entrapped your mind as such that you have become so blind that you are not able to penetrate beyond it. And therefore, Advaita says we need to penetrate, to look into the other side, the other dimension of life. And that is the point where you face and experience this enlightenment. So therefore we need to break the boundaries of this Maya. So when we say break the boundaries of this Maya, we are actually counting all materialistic things in this. It could be anything, it could be our close family members, it could be those desires, it could be those objectives which we want to achieve or attain. It is all nothing but a Maya, because it has bind us to that so adhesively that it has made us completely blind, and has made our eyes almost blurred, to see, to not to able to see the reality,
Yeah.
right? So this is what Maya, and it is very scientifically proven right now. I just give one example, quick example, to to support whatever I have said. That when we say Maya, and why it is so suffering, and why it is so much you know uh, you can say uh, very difficult to manage with, because it actually attaches, it causes a kind of attachment, right?
Yeah.
And once you attach with something, you understand it as your part,
Yeah.
right? And once you start understanding
We
that's
become
your
very
part,
possessive.
you become possessive, right? Human nature is very possessive, by the way,
Yeah.
because we are often hell-bent on claiming our possession and everything.
Yeah.
We have bought this house, so we now starting, we start claiming ourselves as a proprietorship of that
And we
house,
don't we
right?
don't even try to understand that we are here as a tenant. We are here
Yes,
for a
yes,
limited time, right? We
right,
have to leave this.
right. So this is what Maya is all about. So we have to break these boundaries of Maya, and I think anyone can experience it. And I think you ask anyone that what is that thing in your life, or a reason, or a situation that really causes you pain, then the answer would be somewhere connecting to any materialistic object.
Yeah.
It could be a person whom he loves the most. It could be a particular kind of objective which he wants to achieve, and unfortunately, he's not able to do that. It could be money, it could be anything, but it could be surrounding, it could be revolving around, materialistic objects, right? So that is where we have to, this is what we have to cross and go beyond it, and meet with this enlightenment. Yes,
And it is quite easy to grasp what illusion is, and it is easy to grasp that the whole world is illusory. Why?
right.
Because now see, suppose there is a person who is very attached to his wife, or to there is a person who is very attached to her husband, right? What if the husband passes away? Will she not be leading her life? She will lead her life.
Right.
Then that void which the passing away of the husband or the wife creates in his or her life, this fills when somebody else comes in the life, and
Right.
the memories of the person who has passed away will start dimming, will start fading, and the same person will start having some big dreams in the life again. And what is this? This is called Maya, because there was a time when somebody else was very important, and you never imagined that you could live without that person.
Right.
Now the person is no more. You are again having new dreams in your life. So the person who thought of committing suicide, or committing or you can say killing himself or herself, or ending this life, is has now again started building those dreams and building hopes, and now again they're willing to lead the a very happy life. This is called Maya, right?
Right.
And that's why we say that you might have seen children, they're very attached to their parents when they are quite young. They cannot look after themselves, and
Mm.
when they grow up, they don't even miss them. Why?
Right.
Because somebody else has taken the place, somebody else has replaced those parents, and now this is the person has forgotten everything, because this is the this is you can this is the role of Maya, and
Right.
this is how this world is operating. Otherwise, people will never be living.
Right.
They'll be either dying or killing themselves or committing suicide, because they have lost somebody, and the world will not be able to go on. And that's why this world
Right.
is operating with the help of this Maya, right?
Mm.
And when we can easily, if we can, if we just think about it, we can easily understand that the whole world is actually a Maya. And we should now be looking for something that is permanent, that is immortal, and that is
Mm.
the Atman, that is the Brahman, that is
Mm.
you, right?
Right.
So I'm not talking about this body, I'm not talking about something which belongs to this world, because this something which is in this world is one day going to perish. So I'm talking about turning inward. I'm talking about just transcending the boundaries of the average life, the transcending the boundaries of your
Mm.
negative mindset, the transcending the boundaries of those logics which always hold you back, right? Now let us talk about the something that is called you must have heard this word epistemology, right?
Mm.
So now we're going to talk about epistemology challenges. So what are these challenges, and then how to deal with these challenges?
Okay, so in this, I would say first, as we have already discussed about the the most strong barrier in this comes as an obstruction is the science itself, because we have developed a scientific mind. So therefore, our understanding on spiritual, you know, um instructions has been little, you know, vague, because we are not willing to accept few things. It is also a possibility that in future, as things are being revealed, or things are getting unfolded, right, as so people like us and many others are now trying to connect spirituality with science, so it is there to meet with those scientific minds, right? So according to me, science, and the minds which are governed heavily by science, I think are those which may find a little more, you know, you can say, force, or as a force which might stop them, prevent them from understanding the core values of these spiritual ideas and how it works. Okay, because even I mean, it's been 6 to 7 years. You know, I've been into this spiritual lifestyle, right? And before that, even my understanding on this, you know, spiritual world or instructions, Vedas or the Vedas, are much like the ideas of those millions of boys and girls who have started their life reading, the science books. So, I mean, this is what is, according to me, could be a very strong or a very, very, I mean, challenging barrier in between, right? Over to you.
Yes. So one thing, and this is last but not the least, uh, apart from the usual education which we are getting, people should also be learning about all these philosophies, because it's been my personal experience, to be honest, because we haven't reached anywhere. We are just ordinary people, but if we are devoting just for 30 minutes, 45 minutes every day, and if this can give you mental peace, if can let you know who you really are and what your purpose is, especially on this planet, and this is something which will always be keeping you happy. I mean, you won't be feeling like losing something even though you've lost something. So I think this is the best thing, because now what happens, because we are so much into science and all, so we have lost this touch, the touch of philosophy. And that's why you might have seen that people, especially students who are in their teens, I would say, are struggling with the negative negative lifestyle, right? And they're slipping into depression, they are feeling anxiety, they are being they are even thinking of ending their life or committing suicide. Why is this happening? Because they're finding it difficult to tame their inner demons, to conquer that inner turmoil that is going in their minds and their lives. And one negative thing that happens in the lives can force them to end their lives. So this is, they are not actually, they may be saying that they are very brave and they can fight, they can face challenges, they can put up a good fight, but they are getting weaker and weaker with every passing day. And if so, this is what we want people to start doing, because if we don't do this, we will lose this treasure, and we have lost a lot. Means we have lost a lot, because that when we were invaded, we have lost so many things, so many books, which were actually a treasure of this.
Nalanda is one of those instances
Yeah,
where
which,
almost 96 lakhs of books were kept burning for more than 6 months.
see, so that's what
Bakhtiyar
I'm saying.
Khilji was a
So
culprit.
whatever we got at our disposal right now, why do we not make the most of that? Because that is something which will give you, which can help you which can help you lead the best life possible on this planet. And you would then have you can at least experience the one, I mean, that almighty, if not completely, but to an extent you'll be able to experience that. So why not start this journey? And that's why we were just trying to let people know what this philosophy is all about, and how can people live the best life possible,
This
right?
this point you ra- this point you raised is very valid for discussion, by the way.
Hmm.
Because in other words, what you're trying to say is that how we can make this large community to understand this,
Yeah,
how it could be more productive when you use it with the full of your devotion, with full of your belief in that. I
yeah,
give you just one particular, understanding, so that this could be a very easy for the large audience to apply this in routine life. So when Advaita's Sankaracharya comes out and says that we need to merge this body or this Atman with a particular, Brahman. So we need to understand it with some scientific, connection, and that, trust me, that will help to mitigate up. And how? Because we are often living in some apprehension state of mind, right? So
yeah,
we are so much trapped with different kind of issues and problems, right? So we are not having any specific coping mechanism with that, right?
yeah,
So when you consider this as a coping mechanism and then you
yeah,
come out with it, then you are actually trying to move yourself away from your routine and average understanding. How?
Yeah.
Because we are so much fearful about what might happen to us tomorrow, what might happen to our close one tomorrow. If our person whom we really love the most, I might lose someone. So this particular fear, just stalls our all possibilities. This actually hinders us from achieving the maximum potential, because we are you can say loaded with immense potential.
Yeah.
Every one of us
Yes.
is loaded with immense potential. So when this fear comes out and throws this challenge, right, you understand this Vedas or this Advaitas in a sense that we are not going to die, because we are unnecessarily identifying ourselves with body, since we are
Yeah.
not. So when we start understanding ourselves as a soul, this gives us a certain kind of solace and respite or a relief,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
So when someone is going to face some bigger challenges in the life, for example, I've been trying for some objective in my life, and I have gone through a very challenging and a hardship phase of my life. But at the end of the day, I really didn't get that. For some of the reasons, I couldn't achieve that, I couldn't make it. Then what usually happens with most of the people, they even fall in depression. They they start living the life in a very dismal way, right? Now this understanding at least can provide us a option that what you consider yourself, what you consider is yours as a property, whatsoever it is, your desire, your objective, is not yours. It is a completely maya, right? It has no particular existence, it is perishable. So even if you get it, it is going to be perished. Or if you get it, right, then it's okay, it is with you, but it is still going to be perished. So this overall understanding is so vast, so strong, and so powerful that it makes people feel like they can live every moment with 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 full heartedly, right? As many sages and priests and those who come recently on the YouTubes and different media channels, you just listen to them very carefully, you will have that vibrational connect with them.
Yeah.
And this vibrational connect is so strong that you understand these people have realized something which we are which we have failed to understand and realize it. So this Vedas and Advaitas gives us this very understanding, and from that perspective, if we approach towards it, then possibly it is going to give us a very strong, impactful, change on your lifestyle. Over to you.
And we have failed because we haven't realized that immense potential which we have got. And
Hmm.
if we can put it into practice, I think we can use it to a hell. And with the
Right.
before I end this conversation, I would request the parents, parents, that they should also start doing the same, because if they do, their kids will also be following them. They'll be following suit, right? So if this can be done by them, I think they'll see the good changes taking place in the lives of them and their kids as well. With this, I'm wrapping it up, and I'll be seeing you in the next video with another interesting episode. Since till then, take care.
Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.